The horrific images of the Paris attack have struck a nerve with many of us who witnessed so much terror and helplessness. The gunmen had no problem getting their guns, despite the strict gun control laws in France, and opened fire on law-abiding citizens who were left defenseless by their government, who not only couldn't protect them, but denied them the right to protect themselves. But still, many politicians around the globe refuse to see the reality and instead insist that tougher gun laws will help defeat this ongoing threat. Our own President Barack Obama and now presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton claim that adopting Australian-style gun bans and confiscation will somehow stop the people who know no law. But as Senator Leyonjhelm told me, they're kidding themselves. He said his country has become a nation of defenseless victims ever since citizens were forced to surrender their firearms to the government in 1996 to be destroyed.
I don't think Australia is a model for the United States on gun control at all. Mrs. Clinton doesn't know what occurred in Australia nor the consequences. For starters, I can't see how prohibiting semi-automatics makes any difference. The Australian gun laws that were changed in 96, 97 got rid of, from civilian hands at least, pump-action shotguns, semi-automatic rifles and shotguns were essentially prohibited. It was a confiscation with compensation program. The results of the gun laws in Australia had absolutely no effect on gun violence. In fact, we had a blip up in general violence after the gun bans.
And you know, Senator, I was there when all this went on, when the people had their guns confiscated. And so many of them were just furious because they would look right at me and say, well, how are we going to be safer without these firearms?
No, in fact, the reverse. We are a nation of victims. You cannot own a gun for self-defense. Doesn't matter what the circumstances, doesn't matter how big the threat, you cannot defend yourself. And this assumption that it's okay to be defenseless because somebody, government, people in uniform, invariably, will come riding into our protection. It's irrational, it's stupid. All of us who know about guns know how silly that is.
Sydney, Australia is sealed off this morning. A lone gunman is holding hostages in a cafe.
What I did was point out that there was a cafe full of unarmed, defenceless people, one perpetrator with a shotgun, and nobody was in a position to fight back. Now, the astonishing thing is the amount of vitriol that was directed at me for making that statement. What a difference it might have made if one of those people in the cafe had been armed. They wouldn't even consider the possibility. It levels the score. It allows women and the disabled and the elderly and so forth to have a chance against an offender. I think the gun ban had a very negative effect on our safety in Australia. It's had a very negative effect on the shooting sports because the restrictions are very onerous. And not only that, there is an anti-gun culture. So the police are prone to harass gun owners. A friend of mine recently had a rifle unloaded, brought to him by a member of his rifle club. They were discussing how to fit a bipod. 20 police turned up as a result of that. Now, nobody was charged.
David Waters is among Australia's top sporting shooters. Now, Goodyear Australia has fired him for no reason other than blind prejudice. It has to stop.
That kind of overreaction to the mere presence of a gun is becoming more common, and it's taking the focus away from the true cause of violence.
Senator, do you ever see the opportunity to get your rights back?
I'm an optimist by nature. We are currently in the midst of battling to prevent it getting any worse. There is a fairly significant lobby on to effectively prohibit lever action and pump action firearms. Pump action shotguns are already prohibited. So we're dealing with people who are ignorant. They just think any gun's a bad gun, and there's almost a mental blocking out of rational, informed information. They just don't want to hear. They just have an emotional reaction to guns, and that's all that matters. Certainly the immediate outlook is not all that positive.
What's your message to America? Because so often I heard when I was there, don't do what we did, don't become what we've become.
I'm absolutely in awe of the success of the NRA at holding back the tide. Its arguments are reasonable and rational. Don't give an inch because there is no reason to give an inch. You don't have to apologise for being firearms owners and supporters of firearms rights. We love the NRA here in Australia amongst us gunners, and in fact we rely on you guys to also help us hold the line in Australia. My argument is, look at what Australia did. It's a defenceless country these days. Essentially their objective is for no civilian ownership of firearms at all, but the criminals still have plenty of guns. There's no shortage of guns. There's a very vigorous black market for guns, so it's really not made the slightest bit of difference. If you want a gun, you can get one. It's not something that any country should contemplate, is completely disarming their population. Keep up the fight.